Okay, should work. Hello, module. How you doing? Okay. Read write once for single balances. Please see read write once. Yeah. Okay. So, some progress made on persistent volume claims and whatnot. However, now back to actually an issue that I did hit yesterday. So some combination I did yesterday got this working. Still. So storage class persistent volumes, persistent volume claims. So I have two 2 gig persistent volumes with retain. What I'm looking to test here is the if I shut it all down and bring it back up, the data remains, right? That's what I'm looking to test. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but ultimately that's what I'm aiming for, right? So SSH at K8S guys. Okay. I don't think this go. Yeah, it does actually. Data ls logs ls. Okay, so it does create them. So the error I'm getting now is this fail copying. Every time I join, Twitch asks me to knock and drop in. Have you seen anyone use this? I haven't. I think that's because you are a streamer and you are in my list of people who can do that. It's the collaboration stuff, right? But if you were streaming, you were going to start up a stream, say about Control Tower, I think it's so we can kind of join. I don't know. One day we'll have to give it a test and see how it works. If we get into development of both things at once, then it would be kind of cool to give people both sides of the story, right? Make you talk instead of type. So we'll have to give it a try one day. Okay, so read write. Okay, so everything's in the right mode. The container starts, but the container fails with that. So it's in a crash loop. So let's bring everything down. Pulumi down Y. And let's go over to here. Let's see if this can help me. This actually did help me because it made me realize that I was missing volumes. So what I did here is I set up the volume claims outside. I'm still not sure what I actually need here, whether I need the persistent log volume defined or whether the act of creating the claim will actually create the volume. But then what I've done is I've specified the volume amounts, and then instead of creating the claim templates here, right, in there, I define a volume and I set the claim name of the persistent volume claim for that piece. And that binds pretty quick, which is useful. Again, just kind of got to get to the point where I understand this more and more. Keep doing it, keep repeating the same patterns. But this gives me the ability to get the storage. So let's see. What do my container starts, but then I get an error. Pants. That time when you really want to have saved your copy and paste buffer. Um, Access modes and the underlying storage permissions, adjust pod security context. Security context. I don't want to say it's, I don't want to give it privilege. You know what helps as well? If I actually do the announcements. Memsworth is having a ball watching his Honkai Star Rail, which is funny. I can't get into those games. Well, I just wish they'd build classic RPGs because I think they'd be cool, but I'd buy a classic RPG in that style. Absolutely, but yeah. Okay. So what I'm trying, I don't want to do the privilege. So let's bring that up again. Well, actually, let's look at one thing. So unless the storage volume, which I created here, has any sort of permissions, storage class, local permissions. They assume that the storage class is all that's necessary. System volume reclaim ports. That's not storage class though. That's the volume claims. Persistent volume. So the persistent volume out options. Interesting challenge. No, that's the storage. That's the volume. Let's try. This is an interesting process. What happens is, I think I need to learn about the dependency on the startup, because what you'll see is this will start and go, oh well, no, I don't have access to the storage, and then it will, oh no, I have access to the storage, or maybe not. Maybe right now it works perfectly fine. Waiting for stateful set to create pods. Morning, Delta, by the way. Yeah, Mr. Anhorn was helping yesterday. Yeah, see how it says that, but then it will solve itself, I think. Mount options are not supported for this volume. Okay, mount options are not supported for this volume type. Okay, so that's the problem there. Pulumi down, that's why. Let's bring that down. So that's because those are not available, which makes sense. So what I got to figure out is, well, that's log storage, metadata, data storage. Log storage, data storage. No. Did I just not cut? I not cut out enough? No, I didn't. Just trying to make this a bit more readable. Function create storage. It's funny. And then return log storage, data storage. Then can't do a tuple in this. I have an idea for a side project this morning. Who knows if I fall through on it? Fall through enough to the point you get bored. Const. Does that work? Nice. There we go. That cleans it up a little bit. It moves all that storage stuff down there, and I can just get into the stateful set. Basically, to grab the current investments of major investors, I think like Warren Buffett, and plot the results on a graph or something like that for their positions. Huh. Track their success rate. Believe me. Oh, that's right. I know this is gonna fail, but I'm gonna do it because I want to see the error again. I think no, just like Buffett sold 2 billion of Apple this quarter and currently holds 10 billion of its stock. That's the thing. Oh yeah. I think building those sorts of projects, even if they don't go anywhere in the long term, or they don't actually provide use for understanding how you do the thing in practice, I think it's kind of I kind of consider those sorts of projects as Carter. Right? It's useful to do. It may turn into something, it may not turn into something, but it's not you should not do them just because yeah. But the thing to remember is that's an analysis step as well. You actually are analyzing the problem, deciding whether the problem is best solved through code or through just a manual process, and see what happens. Okay, so this is the problem we're kind of trying to fix. So Gemini, what does this mean? When the SQL Server container starts. Copy C template data. But there is no C template data. See, that's where it lacks the context. If I do it manually, I could start picking and choosing the parts to implement. Yeah, there you go. So cd mount ls minus al read write execute. Yeah, that's going to be a problem, isn't it? Because only system has read write. Chmod. Oh, what is it? 755. Oh, chmod 7 sudo chmod 766 data sudo chmod. There you go. Let's validate that that's if that's going to do anything first. When that restarts. Still an error. So it's not a file system problem. Oh, what? Why is permission denied? Read write execute, read write, read write. Let's just test something. kubectl, not kubectl. Pulumi down just y. Let's shut it down. What I want to see is if that directory structure still remains after the delete. Like, is Pulumi, well, is Kubernetes coming down, removing the volume? It shouldn't be removing the volume. Mount ls. Right, so this should be down. Yeah, all the volume. Yeah, so it's all gone. Okay, so rm minus r sudo rm minus. Okay, so now when we bring it back up, Lumi up dash y, because the persistent nature of it, I think it might be leaving that there. So that could be that it was left there previously, and now wouldn't be persisted that way. There we go. Now that's my say. Oh, yeah. So read, write, execute, read, execute, read, execute. Why would I want read, execute though? What's still an error? So close. No, we're not. Oh, yeah, we are. There we go. It just needed to refresh. Yeah. No possible in the next hour. I don't think so. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. Setup is copying system data file. So let's do a new one. Kubernetes hosting with SQL Server. Starting is throwing Define a PVC to store the SQL Server. Ensure the PVC is mounted to the correct path within the SQL Server container. var opt ms SQL data. Store the SQL Server configuration settings in a config map. So here we go. Mount path. var opt ms SQL data. var opt ms SQL log. Config map. That's fine. Persistent volume claim. Config map. But that's not. Let's give you the benefit of the doubt. Let's bring it down. Let's create a config map. How good are you? You're pretty good. How do you specify the config map? SQL Server config. What do you create the config map for then? That's not used. How does the stateful set how does the deployment use the config map? Config map ref. And from, yeah. So right now, yeah. So does that do that? And let's do. Yeah, okay. So it's just more data. Yeah. Yeah. Let's just do that. Interesting how it keeps cutting things off. Okay, so then we do. Yeah, see, that doesn't give me n from config map ref. Okay. Go. Oh, that's why. So feels like we're so close to getting this done. So when the SQL server is storing the data, then I can run the scripts on it. And then start everything else up, and the scripts will be ready so that the databases will be there, and the containers will start without having issues. Now, it doesn't. It's not a long-term solution, because obviously the process is then highly highly manual and highly no, you're not working, are you? Same problem. I mean, the good news is that this is almost instantaneous, but the bad news is that it's not doing what I want it to do. Did it create any data in that directory? Sudo chmod 777 star ls-al cd data ls. Right, so you got full read write access, read write and execute access. Oh, that worked. That worked. So if we go into here now, cd data ls, there you go, there's our database. Yeah. Oh dear. Now, if I go and kubectl get or get services n is ls storage, then copy that and do kubectl port forward service that 1439 to 1433 n storage. Then we should oh 1439. I cover that. Update driver. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now if we go over here to copy that. Data source. Actually, let's name this. This is K8S SQL. Let's just be clear about what that is. Create a login. There we go. And now if we do tenant management, actually, there's a way of doing this, I think. New. No, I don't want that. I want that. Attach directory to project. We don't want control tower. We want liquid sky. Scripts. The tenant management. I think there's a way. There you go. Okay. Edit configuration. Run tenant management. Apply. Run. There you go. So now we should have tenant management. There you go. It should have schema. Yeah, there's our tables. Okay, so now if we do go back here and modify the rest of this, so build infrastructure, we need console up, we need all this. That's that. Oh, we need them. Although it doesn't recognize it, and then you remove it, and it's like, no. There you go. So that's infrastructure. Storage. Why aren't you? So we build that, we build the storage, we build all the pieces, then we go and say, okay, well now let's create the modules. And create modules is going to create tenant management, which is going to do add tenant management, which is going to define all this stuff. But again, a lot of this stuff we can probably just change with some form of dictionary of names so that we use them. So we don't. So to the point yesterday, I'm doing this, and Ms. Tranhorn said, "Yeah, this is an extreme example of using this method." But what I should be able to do is configure this somewhere so these names and stuff are stored in a centralized dictionary, and then when I create the actual resource, I use the name. So the name I'm referencing here is known value. And rather than have this massive lookup, I can just, refer to a dictionary and then do a replace where I need. So it could be a lot simpler. So let's see if everything starts up. Pulumi up. So I'm going to leave the SQL Server up. What I want to do here is start this up, then shut it all down, and then start it all up again and see if it's all persisted properly, which I think it should be. And that's the goal. So what we should see is eventually all these pods will just be up and running. There you go. So tenant management is registered. All the deployments are working. Oh no, hold on, that pod's errored. It's having a wobble. But hold on. We had this working previously. This was working previously. Don't be let me down now. Okay, so this is restarting. This is stuck in some sort of loop. Let's download that file. Let's open that file. Desktop. A second. Okay, so that's this. Verify the instance name is correct. So what went wrong there? So line 82. Okay, so let's do this. Let's bring it all down. And I think what we're going to do we're going to let's just test something. Service dictionary, the JSON. So SQL Server. SQL Server. So actually, no. Let's not do that. Let's not do that right a second. I don't understand enough about what I'm about to do to actually do that effectively. So the problem here is this. It seems. Actually, I should have checked before I actually did all that, right? So hold on. So all our persistent volumes are gone. Let's just validate that ls cd data ls. Yep, all that's still there. So when it starts back up, all that tenant management stuff should still be there. SQL Server, app settings base. Yeah, we created the user. Yeah, we did. We created all the user and stuff because that's what those scripts were doing. Although this script adds that lstm admin in there. So that's perfectly fine. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Also, that port forward's gonna have. Oh, maybe not. It's wrong, but it's so. Let's go this. Let's go and do. That's what I wanted to do. Okay, get it. So I moved everything into an infrastructure folder last night so that I can start to move towards what Mr. Anhorn said in that I probably want a stack for the infrastructure and then a stack for the client and stuff. So I can bring the infrastructure up and then leave it alone and then up and down the client pieces. Apex, hello. How's it going? Not var, const. So hold on, the name here, service name, metadata name, labels app name, MS SQL deployment. App name is MS SQL Server, I believe. Name of the service. SQL Server. It's going all right. Better these days. How are you? Not bad. Not bad. I'm making progress with Pulumi and Kubernetes right this second. Well, progress. SQL service. Let's just do that. We take that name anyway in the service name in the metadata there. Let's see what that starts up as. Bring it all up again. Believe it up -y. quite satisfying to watch. I can imagine that being really impressive when there's hundreds and hundreds of resources. Okay, so everything created. So we started up, we got the storage. Let's see if well, let's go do the kubectl get services n is ls storage. Yeah. So now we can do kubectl port forward service ls SQL service 1439 to 1433 and is ls storage. So now it's got a consistent name, which will help us. Let's refresh that. Okay. I'll put it off. Select star from tenants. Okay, so we have a workable database there. Let's go to workloads, pods. Yeah, so that's still an error. Now that's complaining. So let's figure out what the configuration looks like, right? So the configuration, the config map might be wrong. So go to config maps, tenant management settings. Okay, so we're saying ls SQL server. No, that looks right. Dang it, that was perfectly correct. So there should be a configuration. No, network services. So ls SQL service. Hold on. Yeah, it was ls SQL service, right? Config map. Here, ls SQL service. Yeah. So network services. There's our ls SQL service on port 1433. Yeah. Hey, Dark Raven. How are you? How's things going with you? How is the land down under? Getting pretty warm, I would imagine. Producer heads tomorrow morning. Why? So why are you failing? The server was not found or was not accessible. So it's specifying the namespace. It's specifying the directory. This was working before I went and messed with SQL Server. That's our log volumes. I don't think the storage doesn't have anything to do with this because we know the SQL's working because we're able to insert queries, build the tables and stuff. So that's working fine. The problem is the communication between. Well, that's the same error, right? The server was not found or was not accessible. A network or instance specific error occurred while establishing a connection to the server. So either I'm not exposing the port. Storage, SQL Server. Oh, 1433 on a cluster IP. Namespace is namespace, that's fine. So we've got our ls storage namespace, that's passed in. We're exposing 1433. There's our port, our container port. There is no other port on here, right? Host port 1433. That's not a thing. Pulumi. Oh, that should detect a change and restart the SQL server, but we'll see. So if you are interested in .NET content, OneLion streams on Friday afternoons, and on Friday afternoons does a community stream. So it's a great place to hang out and potentially hear some opinions on software development. Sometimes from me, most times from other people. Um, and you know, the thing I like about the Twitch dev community is there's so many different levels of experience, so many different opinions and outlooks on things. And yeah, we're not all going to agree on everything, and but we all have different pieces of the puzzle. And I think I like going into one line stream, and again, there's other professionals there that you know have that differing experience and different opinion, have learned. Um, Different technologies, and I like. Sorry, my brain is just stuck on that one. So yeah, I really think that the Twitch dev community is a really awesome place to hang out in, just in general, whether it be um, people doing beginner content or people doing advanced content, and um, yeah. Um, it's kind of thought I missed something. Oh, and it's getting a bit warmer. It was AFK doing dishes, but I heard you. Yeah. Yes, I'm not sure I would want to be in Australia um, in the Australian summer. Unfortunately, I'm feeling very stomach ill at the moment, and I'm having trouble concentrating. Oh no, that's not good. Well, take the time you need. Make sure you do not push yourself, because that's not healthy for anybody. Okay, see that's starting up, and then it tries to connect to SQL Server, then it boots down. So the thing I had working previously is now not working. The server was not found; it was not accessible. So we've barely turned on the AC at this point. For like a week, we used it about an hour before bed, but so far it hasn't been bad. Well, that's good in a country that can get up to crazy hot temperatures. Yeah. So we had this working previously. This was all this was all good. So LS SQL service is up and running. So this is where experience with the platform will um um I'm sure that people further inland would disagree with me. They're baking already. I'm pretty sure I shouldn't have eaten the pancetta with yesterday's food. You live, you learn. 16 out of 17 requested. CPU, metrics server. Anyone remember Stumble Upon? Yes. Don't know why I just thought of it. Head to bed, hit the road early to jump to the beach, take care. Darren, safe journey. Enjoy. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate it. And rest well. We didn't actually install. Okay. Install. Yeah, I hit install, didn't I? Whatever. I'm not messing around with that. Replica set, daemons, stateful sets, SQL Server, pods. I'm wondering if it's just, the fact, because it was not a stateful set before, it was a deployment before. I wonder if changing it over to that has created some sort of difference. Hey, tricky lady. Sorry, I started a thought before and I kind of trailed off. What I was going to say is, this is where I get to learn how to diagnose problems. Just doing this sort of stuff is going to mean I get, whether I like it or not, I need an education in how to identify, um, you know, I need to debug, or I need to learn how to do that because, okay, we have this message. Great. What does that mean? Well, it means it can't communicate with the SQL server. Why can't it communicate with the SQL server? What is not working? Um, so if I go over here and do kubectl get pods with the namespace ls. What is this? This is the tenant management. So namespace is tenant management, ls tenant management. What we'll probably do is put all the applications in the same namespace eventually. But we've got ls tenant management, right? So if we do kubectl logs, that and ls tenant management. Awesome. Dash dash tail equals 30. Right. But that just gives me the log of the actual system. How do I diagnose that problem? When we can communicate with we can communicate with a port forwarded version of that, so we know that the SQL server is there and running. Just to validate that once more, if I go in here and create a new query tab and do select star from users, right? That query executes and he says executes as it doesn't do anything. That's not right. That's MySAL. It didn't work. Why didn't you work? Interesting. Ah, port forwarding. That's why we lost the port forward somehow. Select star from tenants. There you go. Select star from users. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Port forwarding is only useful for me right now because I don't want to provide public access. Well, public. I don't want to provide access to this all the time. I want to make it a deliberate action. where if I need to communicate with that server, I have to port forward on it. Yeah, so you can see that's that. So we can communicate with the server. We know this is working. We know this is building the right configuration because we can see that we're building that namespace out. So if we go back to here, go to the configuration config maps, the tenant management app settings file that it's being fed is being given ls SQL service ls SQL service .ls storage .svc cluster.local 1433. Hey Sai, how you doing? I am pickling my brain with Kubernetes and Pulumi, trying to get a deployed version of Liquid Sky onto a local Kubernetes cluster, and it is driving me crazy. See, I don't know if these other things are working still, right? They were working. We had this working. This was actually communicating because it created the outbox and stuff. The primary thing that's changed is the fact that this is now not a actually, can I can't, no, I can't communicate with that. Yeah. Pretty good. I woke up at 4 a.m. for some reason and I decided to start integrating Gemini into my Mantis. Nice. I miss those days where I could just wake up and be like, oh, I want to code. Like, I don't know. Don't always have that energy these days. um, so no, I can't communicate with that. That's not going to work. I don't think. Right? Yeah, doesn't work. Yeah, because I'm not in the cluster. That's reasonable. Localhost 1439. So how's that integration going? So I don't know if that's necessarily the problem. I mean that's worrying. That shouldn't be undefined. That's not gonna be healthy. Um, yeah, that's broker port. It's gonna be 9092. Actually, I think that might be 29 on it. Let's just do it that way. And actually, let's do this. 1433. Let's get rid of all that entirely. Let's do that's ls storage. So far pretty good. And getting to the data structure and how I want it, and it was kind of easy so far. Uh-oh. Just cursed yourself there. You said easy. ls SQL service. So when you're communicating with pods, in Kubernetes, you don't communicate with the individual pods, right? So I'm not communicating with this workload specifically. I'm not even configuring, I'm not even talking to the deployment. The deployment has a service attached to it, and that is on the network, and that's what you communicate with. So it can, take the request and scale it out. That way, not everything needs IP addresses. You can, that's, yeah. So what I'm looking at here is I want to communicate with the service, right? And the service exposes 1433. So there's the service, the namespace, close to local. So there's my SQL Server address. What did I break here? Oh, um, this is, again, I'm going to hard code these anyway. Well, I'm going to make them configurable, but they're not going to come from this. So that's going to be that. Right. Let's cut down the size of that a bit. I mean, again, this isn't going to change anything, purely because let's remove that. That's console. RabbitMQ. And those pieces are useful because I don't know those necessarily names. Service bus. Okay. So in theory, this changes nothing, right? It just updates that to use that method. I don't think it's going to snow. Yeah. It's going to rain today. Okay, so that will replace the deployment, and then that will start up. So this will look no different. Eventually. There you go, 9092. Okay. But that won't mean that this is going to run. Unless we see some databases created here, some tables created here. I don't think this is going to be, yeah, there you go. So it's still timing out on that connection. So how do I validate the connectivity between two components? Yeah, let's see. Gemini, how do I validate that one pod can see another service with the service address? Oh. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to move Gemini off the screen so I can not keep flashing back and forward. So, and let's do So kubectl get pods n is ls tenant management. Right. So that'll give me the pod. I copy that. Kubectl exec -it pod name namespace ls tenant management dash just sh. No. Internal error code unable to upgrade connection container not found. Oh, because it's in a reboot loop. I have to be really quick here. Ping. Nope. Curl not found. Nope. That's not going to help me. It's in a reboot loop. It's not going to help me to be able to do that. So nothing essentially changed there. I just hard coded that now, which is fine. Ultimately, I'll create some sort of dictionary so that I can at least reference the same names. However, don't you love when you have that, one step forward, 5 steps back feeling where you think, yay, I'm going to make progress. And then, no, now I'm held back again. Because this was working before I started my SQL Server mess around. Spent 2 days trying to figure that out to then get this stuck now, which should have worked because I didn't change the configuration here. Thus ends my rant. I just want it to work. So the major thing I changed was the statefulness, but the stateful set. But the stateful set is still just a deployment with a service in front of it. The actual deployment doesn't matter because it's the service that routes it. Well, hold on, I can do this. I can test this elsewhere, can't I? I don't have to be connected to that pod. If I do kubectl get pods n is ls service bus. All right, I can connect to this pod kubectl ctl exec-it pod n ls service bus sh. Okay, curl. No. Here we go. Ping. Nope. How am I going to do this? Telnet. Is telnet there? Nope. Sudo telnet. Nope. It's very. I mean, I get why you don't have these tools just installed on these images. That's. And let's look up from where though. Direct pod execute SSH into the pod, test connectivity, Kubernetes tools and commands, network troubleshooting. Right, but yeah, ns lookup, ns. Really? That went really badly wrong. So, if you are new to the stream, if you have questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to ask or share. I'm I'm more than happy to describe why I'm doing this. But yeah. Huh. NS lookup. Yeah, but that's not gonna resolve that, is it? I'm gonna have to be on the bus NS lookup ls SQL service dot ls storage dot svc dot cluster dot local got serve fail reply. Right. Ensure the service type is cluster IP. Make the pods names labels match the services selector. That could be. Well, make sure the pods labels match the services selector. Oh, this one. Okay, so but yeah, application. So the deployment, the service. I get it. I get it. Infrastructure, storage, SQL Server, but labels. So selector labels, metadata labels. Pulumi up dash Y. Something as innocuous as something called labels should not have such a bearing on the behavior. I get that it's kind of saying, oh well, here's a service, here's the actual database. Like the service is exposed, but the database isn't matched to it. If what I just changed there works, that's really frustrating. I mean, I get why. Got to be some way of saying, hey, this thing matches to this thing. I get that, but it's still. No guarantee that that works at all when this restarts, but yeah, interesting challenge. Security, network, services, SQL service, endpoints. Put there was somewhere I saw that would tell me that it's found. Workloads, pods. Come on, restart. Yeah, that's just not now, is it? Like, you can do that, and it'll bring it back because your deployment dictates that there's going to be one. So this will refresh it and recreate a new one. Nope, not working. Boo. Nope, same problem. Okay. But there was, so network, if I go into RabbitMQ, there you go, ports and endpoints. There's a service, right? No, not that. Endpoints, RabbitMQ, addresses. If I go to endpoints and go to ls SQL service, yeah, there's a SQL server. and that SQL Server is the deployment. Yeah, that's that. It's fine. That's the pod. And the pod is up and running fine. Okay. Controlled by stateful set. So the pod is working. So assume if my labels weren't correct, right, that these things wouldn't be actually visible. Yeah, labels, ls SQL Server. Storage, network, services, ls SQL Service. App. Oh, hold on. SQL Server. Hold on. Labels. Labels is labels, which is labels app name. Okay. SQL Server labels. Storage, that's fine. This won't work. Yeah, it never works anymore. Endpoints. I don't want ingress. Don't need any port forwarding. Network policies. Do I need a network? Let's find out. So for Kafka, we create a network, and then that gets labeled in network.labels. So let's try. Let's define a network. Infrastructure storage. So actually, I don't want. So this is SQL Server network, and then that becomes stateful set. Labels is metadata. Labels is, yeah, that. Same here. No, not there. The service. Hold on. Network, service bus network, true. But we don't have, yeah, the service doesn't end up in there, just the actual deployment. Okay. Okay. But that doesn't change anything other than dealing with network policies. Ingress rule, workloads. I don't believe that changes anything in terms of that. So Yeah. Delete. Yes. Start from scratch. Nope. Not working. Did you run again? Yeah. The benefit of giving it a name is that that's possible, but that's still not working because yeah. At this point, I'm looking to just change something, right? Make something happen differently than the other thing. Um, that would be the good thing right now. Replica set ls tenant mode. So that's restarting again. So once it goes like several times, it's gonna there's a back off, right? That crashed again. That starts again. That crashed again. That starts again. Right, but it's not communicating. It's not doing the deployment properly. So why can't it communicate with the SQL Server? Now all it's got is the connection string. If I go back over here, can I go to kubectl exec, no, kubectl get pods dash namespace ls. So let's do namespaces ls storage. And if we take that and kubectl exec dash it pod name and ls storage sh. Okay, we're on there. NS lookup. Not found. Yeah. So the issue I have is I don't know. I don't know what I don't know here. Right? I don't know what is different that can't communicate now. Because as far as that's concerned, it's using this address. Right? Which we've validated. This is the right name, ls SQL service. So if we go to network services, ls SQL service is there, and it's got port 1433, and the app is ls SQL server. That has an endpoint, so ls SQL service is the endpoint 1433. So the yeah, so we have the endpoint there. So there's our ls SQL service endpoint, which has a port open, and there's our host name. Because that has one pod, right? So this pod, 1433, is in the app ls SQL server, and then this pod is running, and everything's fine. It's got its storage. We can communicate with it. We can work with this. it's working perfectly fine as a SQL server. So ls SQL server service, sorry. Probably need to refine some of those names. It's got its network tab there, so that's fine. If we go to the network policies, we can see there's our SQL Server network, and yeah, that's probably not. And that's kind of common, it seems. There's no changes there. The network we had to do. See, the network we had to create because the Kafka and Zookeeper are in the same. So these other things probably don't need that thing. Like I probably, if I wanted to do storage backup or something, then yeah, I might actually share SQL Server network. So it was worth a try because it does define a policy. So what has changed? A lot's changed with the SQL Server piece, but nothing essentially has changed with how it should communicate. So what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Um, like over, no, not Magneto. Over here. Uh, pod can't communicate with a pod in another namespace given service dot space dot svc dot cluster dot local port times out. Let's see. When a pod in one namespace cannot communicate with a service in another namespace, there are several potential causes. Check network policies, describe network policy. Ensure allow rules, verify that network policies allow traffic from the source pod's namespace to the destinations. So kubectl, describe network policy. Get network policy. And ls storage. So if we do kubectl, kubectl, describe network policy, SQL Server network policy, namespace is ls storage, allowing ingress traffic to any port from pod selector. Not affecting egress, policy types ingress. So have I just made that more restrictive? Verify service definition. So ensure allow rules. So that's concerning because that means that pod selector. Yeah. So we probably don't want that network in place. Let's remove that network right this second. Pulumi up -1. verify service definition. Use kubectl. kubectl describe service. So get service n is ls storage. So kubectl describe service ls equals service dash n is ls storage. Target endpoint, target port, endpoints. To check the services, spec.selector, app equals ls SQL server, kubectl, get endpoints, SQL. So, I mean, this is what the tool's doing for us. That's why it's a headlamp is giving us all this, so we don't have to type this. Kubectl, service, endpoint, yeah. Ensure the pods in the destination namespace have the correct labels to match the services selector. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I was doing before, right? So the pod here, so the SQL Server pod here has app ls SQL Server, right? The other things don't matter. The service over here for ls SQL Service has app ls SQL Server, so they match. And the selector is, so okay, that's the actual selector. Okay, so that makes sense. So they match just because they're configured that way, but they're not. They could be different. It's just whatever this is what the pods is going to find are, which is what the endpoints are. The pods that are running and the individual addresses. So 10.32.09, I bet, is the pod address. Yeah, there's the pod of SQL Server. Okay, so that's working. Test DNS resolution from the source pods shell to verify DNS resolution. We can't do that. Check core DNS configuration. If using core DNS, inspect its configuration for any issues. I don't think I'm using core DNS, but core DNS. Kubernetes cluster.local. I have no idea what that means, but we'll assume that that's correct. Inspect network configuration, IP address and IP route to check the pod's network configuration, verify CNI configurations, check network connectivities, ping, telnet, or NC. Don't have any of them. Inspect firewall rules. There's no firewall. Kubernetes cluster configuration, check any misconfigurations, kube proxy, kubectl logs, check the logs of the source pod and the destination service pods. We know that doesn't work. Enable debug logging, increase the log level for kube proxy coordinates and other relevant. Heading on campus, have a good stream. Site, take care. Thank you very much for coming hanging out for a bit. Good to see you, and look forward to catching you next stream. If you haven't been there before, no, Loki, you can't. No. Hey, buddy. Hello. Hello, my friend. Hello, buddy. You okay? You a good boy? Ooh, you need a toothbrush. You need a toothbrush. Yeah. All you see on stream is me just waving my hand because his head disappears for the camera. That's funny. I've been there before. Side streams development of an app called Momentous, which is a productivity app as well. And a great stream to go and hang out again. This community is just full of great developers and great streams where it's just you can just go and hang out and learn and grow. He's really, really dragging me down right this second. I just want to get, I was over this hump and now I'm back on this hump and it's just upsetting me because it's frustrating. And it's something dopey I'm doing. I've got to be, server equals tenants.sql server. Yeah, so all that's working. We're getting the configuration. ls SQL service.ls storage.svc cluster.local, 1433, semicolon, database equals, and then it escapes the quotes. That's fine. That is perfectly fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that as far as I can tell. Like, this all looks correct, but then again, this tool is telling me all those things, right? So again, I've gone through the services, the points. That's because that's backed off. What am I missing? What am I missing? ls SQL service to ls storage svc cluster.local, 1433. That's all fine. Application labels. Application labels. Match labels. There's a selector. There's the metadata. Again, I don't understand what I changed enough to. That's tenant management. That's all in the same namespace. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. SQL Server. That's fine. Don't mind me. I'm just making change for the sake of making change, but it's fine. Actually, that's log. That's that one. And persistent volume. That's that one. it's a visualization. I'm just messing around because I'm just stuck on this. Parent namespace. The one thing I do appreciate about this is it's in general it's pretty resilient on the whole startup shutdown thing. But okay, let's Pulumi down. Ah, gotcha. uh, I was waiting for this to shut down. It's fine. Okay. I almost typed clear in there again. Look, Control L. I'm learning. Once in every 50 times I do it. Git start. So let's do this. Git add, git commit. Did all sorts of things. Broke, moved infrastructure to folder. Started to move to hard coded. Discord closed, minimize distraction free. It's over there. It's off the screen. It's fine. Started to move to hard because it's in streamer mode. It doesn't ping at me or anything. So I wouldn't have seen that unless you'd have mentioned it. And it was all because I was distracted. Started to move to hard coded service names. We'll create a dictionary. Honest. I don't like writing those sorts of things, but it's right now it's just the amusement. Configured, reliable storage for SQL to survive restarts. So at the worst, what would happen there is if that became corrupted anyway, we'd just delete the storage and then restart it, and everything would come back fine, and we'd have to reinstall everything. But that's fine. SQL Server to survive restarts. Let's just do that. It's fine. Pulumi. Did I Pulumi up again or did I not? Okay, so everything's brought down. We have no storage defined. We have none of that. We have over here CD mount ls, CD data ls. So all this is still here, which is great. That's fine. Now we can do Pulumi up -y and bring everything back up. I don't expect this to come out with a different result. I just want to make sure that it's not the victim of restarting. Okay, so we have the cluster. Let's see, this is the logs. And it will time out. Okay, so workloads, pods, error. There you go. server was not found or not accessible. Okay, so it's not a... Like, I don't want to do this, but I want to kind of... This was working when SQL Server was a deployment. It's not working when SQL Server is a stateful set. But the volumes are... like... Let's do this. Git. Create basic tenant management deployment. Like, what does SQL Server storage look like here? Right? So as a deployment, let's do this. Let's close that down now. Let's paste that in there so that SQL Server as a deployment doesn't really change very much. Right? Because that's still the same. These volumes should still function the same way. Like, because the storage is what's storing the data, not the actual. And then this should replace this and be just fine. Right? Like, why is stateful set, right? That's labels. Labels. Okay, so let's do Pulumi. Oh, Napalm. Hello, how you doing? Welcome to the hair loss stream. Where I spend time pulling my hair out, trying to figure out why this is like whack-a-mole. If this works, I'm going to be upset. That tells me nothing right in a second. Oh. So it being a deployment does not matter what. Not in the slightest. So, hold on. No, that definitely didn't. That didn't work. Same problem. Okay. Yeah. Same problem. So stateful set versus deployment, no difference. Notepad. Did I close my notepad? Of course I did. Trying to learn how to set up VNet in Azure. I hate networking. MS tried to make this easier than AWS, but by doing so, you made it more confusing. Oh dear. Yeah, I can imagine. Um, Pulumi up. Why? So I've almost got this working. to the point where I can move forward with. So the gateway is in place. Or the gateway will be in place. The tenant management service is now not communicating with my SQL server where it previously was. I'm starting the day with heartburn, which is not good. But this will not communicate with that SQL server, whereas it previously was communicating. So it was communicating when there's a deployment. So it's got to be something I've changed on the SQL server side for communication, for connection in some way. So storage, network, services, ls SQL service. As ls SQL service endpoint. And that's that pod. That's 12. Yeah, that's 12. The config map for this tenant management, ls SQL service. Yeah. Use minimal editor. Documentation. But either way, it's called ls SQL service, which is the actual service. Doing a demo on doing a demo to try and sell my team on Pulumi over Terraform, and my boss wants to say VNet. Seems a bit overkill for a demo, but you know how these things can go. Pod disruption budgets, resource quotas, limit ranges, runtime classes, leases, VPAs, secrets, HPAs, VPAs, security, LS storage, roles, role bindings, no, network, ingresses, endpoints, port forwarding, ingress claims, ingresses, endpoints. Oh, sorry. It's got to be something really, really simple that I'm missing. I just don't know what to check. So the SQL Server has a service configured. That service has the labels of ls SQL Server. The spec has a selector of ls SQL Server to find any pods that are running that, is my understanding there. The stateful set of the SQL Server, which is the actual deployment essentially, defines one SQL Server with one replica. We have the metadata on it. This doesn't have metadata, does it? No, you don't put metadata on. You put metadata on the definition, not on the actual containers themselves, because the containers are just instances. That's fine. So we have the metadata of those labels on here. We define the storage claims. Yeah. I don't know. I'm sorry. My apologies. It's the multitasking. If I get something that puts noise or whatever in my face, in my ears, then I'm like, I can't think to talk at the same time. Frustrated. I'm irritated. I want to solve this, but I don't know what I need to solve. That's not we had a bobblehead. You find an artist that can do a decent bobblehead, I'll pay for a bobblehead. And we'll have a bobblehead on the stream. Apex, thank you very much for coming hanging out. Appreciate it. Have a great day at work. I'll see you again soon, hopefully. Apex, thank you very much for the gift sub. Code Warrior, that's a name I haven't seen in a long time. Oh. Thank you, Apex. Okay. So my issue is I do not know how to debug the fact that this cannot communicate with that container. It cannot communicate with the SQL Server container. It just keeps throwing the uh, verify that the instance name is correct and the SQL Server is configured to allow remote connections. The oh shoot, you're right. Gotta get a news ticker at the bottom. You can find a decent artist that is good with stream art stuff. I will consider paying for some pieces there. Um, um, sorry, just teasing my daughter. Told her I'd get a snack when she gets home. And she's like, "You pick the snack. I don't care." I was like, "Okay, you can have garlic egg bites." Um, so I don't know how to make this communicate. I don't know how to validate it. I don't know how to test it. I can't test from the container because I don't have ping. So how the heck do I do this? Uh, if you find decent, I'll take a stab at it for the meme. It gotta work. Look, no worries, my dog. I actually have someone that I think might be able to do it, but we'll see. BusyBot sidecar. I don't even know what those. I don't even know what that is. Do you mean do I define another deployment in a container in the deployment that is just run a container within your network tools and cluster so you can ping? Okay, what's the path of doing that? Do I do that in here? Or do I, yeah, I gotta learn. Because my go-to right now, based upon that suggestion, would be to go in here and in here add a second container that was um, the BusyBox image and try it that way. Then at least it's in the same deployment and I have one that's running. That's kind of how I'd approach that right this second. But I don't know how you do that. Like in here, I can't go and create extra deployments, or there's no ability to add in here. I can't do those things, so I can delete and stuff, but I can't add. I can do scaling and stuff. This is basically a tool over kubectl for querying information about the cluster, right? That's all this is. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I want to look at busybots, basically, is what we're saying. How I add that in, I don't know. But I'll figure that out. So we're close. We've got the SQL Server up and running. We can communicate with the SQL Server. We can add tables, and it will survive a restart because we've got the persistent storage. So we've got the volume configured. So the next step is once we've got tenant management up and running. So tenant management up and running means that it will create the out boxes properly and all that. Once that does that, we can then enable the client again and try and get the gateway working so that we can actually get through to tenant management with a registration call. So getting the client configured with the right path and stuff, that's going to be the next piece there. So I'll probably work on that as much as I can over the weekend and try and get that working. But yeah, that's kind of where we're going to leave it. We are going to raid out. I'm going to take you over to someone new. Guys working on React, TypeScript, Docker, etc. So we'll take you over there. I've only just started following him, maybe. Don't forget if you like .NET content, I'm sure I don't need to shout him out. One Lion may stream today if he's not feeling well though. That won't be there, but does stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yep, I get that. Look after yourself. You know, that's the most important thing to do. Yeah. But anyway, let's go raid maybe. I will be back on Monday. Next week we'll see, because obviously it's Thanksgiving in the US, which means that, you know, we'll be doing different things. But yeah, and if you're interested in following this, if you're in Discord, I will share my progress as well in Discord if I make anything there, and share the learnings as well, because that's kind of why I'm streaming this, right? I'm streaming this so that I can share the learning as much as I can share the frustration and the successes. Overall, I feel today was a success. I feel that this is now better understood, and I think that this is more stable. This is bringing everything up as expected, and this just one challenge will give me that. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again next time. Bye all.